Hi everyone and welcome back to another time lapse of Camembert Coasts here in Cities Skylines, a long-term play of a heavily modded playthrough. I just wanted to express my thanks to everyone that has been engaging on YouTube, and again those who've popped into Twitch as well. It's been wonderful to have everyone there. I just wanted to start off by saying sorry that there was no third episode time lapse. Essentially, whilst I was recording this, because I record twice, one being for Twitch content, the other being for the time lapses and YouTube content, it turned out that about halfway through my recording, it stopped recording frames, and I was losing 100% of frames from about an hour in, so I lost about 4 hours of footage. So I just thought I'd quickly show you a little bit of what we did capture from the third time lapse, but also show you a little bit of what we did after that. So we'll jump straight on in and I will show you. We started off in the industrial district where we essentially started from scratch. We took out all the buildings, took out all of the trees from the area to give us a good even playing field. Now we started off by getting some of the farming DLCs in. But I didn't like the trees on these, so I changed them to be the same as the surrounding ones that we can see in the distance. I think they're called live oak trees from memory. But then we started adding some of the other DLC buildings from the industrial pack. I really spent some time on the sawmill area by using some network multi-tool, putting in this lovely fence behind it. I really wanted to make this area look a little bit more alive. So you'll see going through some props, chucking in some logs, some extra sheds there as well. Just trying to give this a little bit of a hustle and bustle. I also found these other farm. I won't say farm. I don't know why I'm saying farm. These are part of the trees, aren't they? These assets that also show off some live trees. Unfortunately, the industrial demand, that was bad. Unfortunately, the industrial demand was still way too high, so I had to think about expanding this area. Now, what you can see here is us using dirt roads and some other roads to try and mark out where I imagine this train line will come in and connect to the area. But as you can see, there is a double track, so I did want to make sure that both could kind of work their way in and out of the area. Obviously, we don't have trains unlocked just yet, but hope to in the near future. So it's good to mark this out and figure out where the trucks and stuff will go. But this also allowed me to pave some extra areas to zone in or place in some more industrial area, just because the demand was so high. I took a little bit of time to try and get these roads a little bit more close together, try and get the trees in as much as possible. And just to quickly show you what else we did, we filled in a little bit of this area up here, just making sure we had a bit more residential demand around Dale Park. We also added in slight bit of commercial up here, which were a big mix of different building styles, some vanilla, some custom. I really liked how some of these buildings turned out in the end. Something else we added into the game was this bridge asset. We decided to double it up, and we also thought it'd be a good idea to add what will be a metro line running through the center of this bridge with the lots of two-lane roads running adjacent. Now, we quickly went into placing this AFL Stadium, which I think is a wonderful asset. It's really well done. I did notice a little bit later on that the pathing around it wasn't exactly at the right curve, so I did go in and change that. But as you can see, we were trying to make a nice key wall, seawall, whatever you want to call it, around the outside of that. And as you can see, that's where I noticed the paths weren't completely perfect, so I went in and changed it with Move It. But I really liked the idea of making this area very pedestrian friendly, despite us not making this a pedestrian area in terms of the promenades and plazas DLC. I did quickly realize that this was far too high, so I did lower this down a fairly significant amount. I was worried obviously about the terrain and how the water flows within this game, but it did turn out absolutely fine. The other thing that we were going to have to make sure of is there was good connections to this area. So I wanted to connect the highway up. We haven't connected the highway to the other set of highways more eastbound just yet, but I imagine we will do at a later date. And as you can see here, I was messing around a little bit, trying to make this look nice. We used a bit of an intersection marking tool and a little bit of node management here, as you can see. Let's try and make this look a little bit prettier. I don't know, I just felt like it needed a little bit of a spruce up. So you can see that highway off to the right hand side of the screen, but for now I felt, just because we haven't got to that area, we were just going to connect this up just so there was a good connection from the bridge. This soon got upgraded though, because I realized after looking at my development plan, which I do in Photoshop, that we're going to be having a lot of metro stations. I love this asset here. I wanted to move it closer, got rid of the trees, but was worried about some clipping. So I used a network mod or asset which allows me to essentially get rid of that clipping. I gave this a little bit more landscaping just so we could fit in this lovely Bad Peanut one, which is wonderful. He actually popped into stream on this one, so if you're listening to this, Peanut, thank you very much. But yeah, so now you can see us working on the metro line that will run alongside these roads. It was a pretty good fit actually. I did want to lower it down just a touch because it looked a little too high in this shot. And then that was basically all we did for the bridge. It wasn't too difficult. I was a little bit worried about this area and connecting it up. There was no real nice way of bringing it from the bridge off the road without it being a little bit janky. We might change this in another stream, but this connected up pretty well to this overground station after we leveled it out. And then jumping onto the other side, we obviously wanted it to stay in the middle of this. We slowly turned it into an underground area, which you can see me just clearing the amount of trees there. That's quite a lot. But yeah, as I said, we slowly brought this underground, and this will essentially run just in front of our very first area that we built, where the big mall is. Sorry, I lost my words there. You'll see that shortly. Now, I had the idea that this metro stop would essentially be the border between this commercial area and the beachfront, where I imagine our first hotel will be out of the hotel and resorts expansion pack. I bought that today. Well, the day it came out for you guys listening on YouTube. And I had this idea that this main road, despite it being only a single lane traffic on each way, would essentially be the way down to this beachfront. And I think it turned out pretty nicely. Now, the only thing that I was worried about is bike access. I always wanted to have a good bike loop around this city. So I took out and took back the bike path a little bit, changed in these roads. I thought it was very important to do so running along the beachfront. It's purely because I didn't really understand how traffic would work with the new holidays and resorts pack. I forgot the name. Hotels. There we go. Hotel is the word that I was looking at. So I want to be sure of any increase in traffic flow. So we continued this bike path along and connected it up to the previous one. Now here you see us using BPL assets, big parking lot for those who are unaware. These are great little assets for making huge expanses of car parking, and I felt like this was going to be pretty necessary for essentially a giant area where there's a lot of sports happening, including the stadium that we placed down earlier. I also wanted to create a little area for some extra sports happening. I kind of like the idea of these baseball fields, but then I came across these new ones that came out recently. I think the design of this being like the circular shape that is continued within the arena itself was kind of perfect for this area. Obviously landscaped it a little bit so it wasn't so awkward. But then I also just didn't like this baseball field, so I decided to swap it out with another circular one in the new DLC that came out recently, which kind of fit perfectly within here. The only thing that this thing was, or this area was missing, was a lot of landscaping and trees. It felt very bare and barren, so obviously I filled that up fairly quite compactly, I guess would be the better term. I think where this gap is at the top, I think I'll probably use that for some high residential areas and like hotels for people to stay over. I wanted to finish off this area with this sphere asset, I want to call it. I know it's part of a park that I downloaded, but from a distance I thought it kind of looked like some sort of sports ball, football or cricket maybe. So I thought this could be like a nice decorative piece for the area. And going in, I went in with the marking tool as well to get some nice trees. I think we went for the Maria Bush Large to go all the way around this. And then on the outer rim, we also added in some slightly more colourful trees, which you'll see soon. Or a bush, shall I say. The only other thing that this place is missing, I feel like with most stadiums, that if they're not inside the venue, then there's gonna be some fast food, quick bites to eat, maybe a few little shops on the outside. So that's what we're working on here, just to fill in the area. Obviously, we put in another cheese bistro, because obviously this is a growing business within the city that the mayor is kind of demanding. And that will definitely be expanding in another episode. And then we did the same in this little gap. Here we used a lot of the content creator packs with the malls and shopping centers DLC as well to create this area, and we kind of ran out of space a little bit, but I feel like just adding some little trees just to fill out this area. You still had just glitched through the stadium there. But yeah, we're just trying to fill up this area as nicely as possible without going too much. From this, I did download a few more commercial assets though, mostly from King Leno. But yeah, this area turned out really nicely. Here you can see the area before the development, very bland, very pretty mundane if I'm honest. And you can see that this actually turned into a wonderful little spot, which hopefully will be able to handle the traffic with room for expansion to the west. But that's it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this other time-lapse video. We'll be back the following week for another one. Also, for those, by the time that this goes live, we now have cheesy merch in the form of stickers. So if you do like the sound of that, you can find that on the Etsy store at The Cheese Bistro. That is The Cheese Bistro. There are 6 varieties of singulars and 2 free packs of your choice, essentially, if you like that sort of stuff. But until next time, thank you very much for staying tuned, and we'll be continuing this live on Twitch every Saturday, 3 PM BST, if you want to catch it live and name some areas for yourself. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.